I'm Rachel, here with Ari, and we're your hosts for the Merry Writer podcast. This week we're on episode 276, and we're asking, how do you write a blurb for your novel? Before we start, if you enjoy the show, consider checking out our coffee page. You can follow the page for free as we have plenty of goodies for all. If you're feeling generous, a one-off donation will get you access to more treats, or you can become a Merry Writer for just $2 a month. For this, you'll get access to all the items in our shop, including exclusive goodies, as well as access to monthly bonuses, and it all helps to support our podcast. But of course, if that's not your style and you still enjoy the show, then please subscribe wherever you're listening, if you're not already, and consider dropping us a like if you're watching on YouTube. So, what is a book blurb? Let's talk about this real quick so that there's no confusion. I assume if you're listening to this podcast, you're an avid writer, you're an avid reader, so you probably know what a book blurb is, but we figured we'd talk about it anyway. A book blurb tells potential readers what the book is about. It's as simple and as difficult as that. And I say difficult because it's typically between 150 to 200 words, but it can vary depending on the content and what your publisher may want if you go through a traditional publisher.
Now, people do sometimes use the word synopsis to mean book blurb. And I'm not saying that is wrong, but there are other terms for synopsis. A synopsis is usually something that will actually summarize the plot and the twists and a bit more detail. It's the sort of thing that you would put in your press kit or you would send with your letter to an agent. You would explain the story to them. That's the sort of thing, a synopsis. And it's usually longer than a book blurb of 150, 200 words. I think it can even be up to it's been ages since I looked at this, something like a page or so of information about the book, more detailed than the book blurb, which is, as I said, very, very quick, no spoilers or anything, very quick, whereas a summary might have spoilers in it, especially if you send it to an agent because they want to know about their book. They're not trying to be massively surprised over everything. When we're talking about book blurb, we're talking book blurb, not synopsis in that sense. I hope that makes sense. It probably doesn't make sense.
No, it does make sense. Because I'll be honest, I kind of forgot that people use book blurb and synopsis interchangeably, even though they're different things. So before we started recording and you mentioned that, I had like a moment where I was like, oh shoot, because I had this topic idea and I was like, am I using it wrong? And I'm about to talk about it. So I was actually pleasantly surprised that Ari was like, this is what a synopsis is. And I'm like, that's right. Because we've been writing for how long and we still don't get it right. So we're totally experts in talking about this. Here we go. As Ari just explained what a synopsis is, the book blurb is usually found on the back cover of a book, because obviously when you go look at books on the shelf at the bookstore or the library, first thing you do is turn it over to see what it's about. And sometimes the blurb is on the front inside flap of the dust jacket if it's a hardcover book. It really annoys me when you find a hardcover and the synopsis is in the front flap, and then because when you turn it over, it's just all like praise and reviews and stuff. That drives me nuts. Whatever, that's a me thing.
You always need the blurb to be on the back. That's where it always is. Again, I said hardcover, but it's when you even on paperbacks where you turn to the back, it's just like reviews, and it's like I know. Or if you go on like Amazon or any of the online ones, sometimes where they're supposed to put the blurb, it's just reviews or like, are you interested in pirates? Then this is the book for you. And it's like, and what's it about? Seriously? How is anyone supposed to be interested in that?
I know, it drives me nuts. And I've seen paperback books like that where I had to scour the insides of the book to find the blurb. And I'm just like, who published this? Who will prove this? Who thought this was okay? And that right there is kind of a, like, alarm goes off in my head that I'm like, I don't want to read this, because if you're going to make me work to figure out what the book is about, I don't really want to fork over, $10, $15 to buy it. If anything, I'll look it up online, and if it sounds that good, I'll get it from the library or something maybe, but don't make your readers work to figure out if they want to buy a book or not. And that's exactly what the blurb is supposed to do. So we're talking about this episode about, what to include in your book blurb. Here are some things. First, introduce the main character or characters. The readers are going to be following the main characters, so they should know who they're going to be following. They should know, the gender, the age group, and see if it's something that they could relate to, possibly. And you'll also want to establish the main conflict and what's at stake. And I don't mean go dive deep into the plot or any potential subplots. You can mention a subplot if you want, if it calls for it, but just discuss like the overall conflict about what's going on. And by doing so, you need to say what's at stake. Don't just say that, the characters are going on a journey, an unexpected journey or something like that. Like, why are they going on this journey? What happens if they don't go on this journey? You want to have the readers ask questions so that they will pick up the book because they want those questions answered. And if you're writing nonfiction, toss in some of your credentials, because why would somebody want to be educated by you? I know that I said that in a really harsh way and I didn't mean it as it sounded, but that's basically, why are you the right person to teach others about this particular topic? And finally, when writing your blurb, make sure you use a tone that matches the writing style of the book. For example, if you're writing a fiction book and it's written in first person, you can have fun with the blurb and write it in first person as if the main character is speaking to the reader. Or you don't. You don't have to do that, but, have fun with it. Make sure that it entices the reader to actually open the book and see if they want to buy it or not.
Yeah, exactly. I will say if your book has dual points of view, just two, as in like main male character, main female character, anything like that, or the protagonist and the antagonist, and they've both got equal space in the book, it's recommended that you split your blurb in two and you give both characters their own mini blurb, because obviously their conflict, their introductions are different, and that way your 150 to 200 becomes maybe 100 words per character. Obviously, if you're writing more than two characters, you don't need to do that for everyone. If you're writing a multiple POV book, there's almost always one or two characters that are your main characters. And if there isn't, why? Why not? Don't do it for multiple POV books, but for dual POV, definitely split it in two and give them, especially if they're quite different. Like if you've got two characters, one on one side, one on the other, and they're like enemies, or their lives are extremely different, it can help to put that in. So yeah, definitely with that. Just as a random thing, if you have a tagline to your book or a single quote of your characters, you might want to put that at the very top, just as a thing. It's kind of part of the blurb, so it starts that something to grab the attention. It could just be a quote from one of the characters, or a line, or the tagline. It's good to put that at the top in a different color and then have the blurb.
Yeah, no, it's like the title of the blurb, not the title of the book, just the title of the, like a heading almost. Because yeah, I'm sure everybody has seen those. You flipped over to the back of the book, and if it's like a dark colored cover in like at the top in bigger font and a different color, it has like a one liner. And then it goes into the blurb, which is like one or two paragraphs, depending. That's a good point. And I think speaking of that, that kind of goes along with what I was about to say. If you're really struggling with your blurb, I'm not saying to copy, I'm not saying to plagiarize, but if you're really struggling with your blurb, go take a look at what other books have done in your genre. Go to the bookstore, go to the library, and pick out some books that you've read. Yeah, go to your own bookshelf. Why am I telling you to go to the library or the bookstore? Go to your own bookshelf, because we all know you have a massive TBR list, and go to the genres that you wrote in and see how they did their blurbs. See how they're formatted, see how long they are, see the tone that they use, and pick out, okay, they mentioned the main character here, they mentioned what's at stake here, and just see how they put it all together. And that should hopefully give you some ideas for what you can do for your own book. And again, I'm not saying to copy and plagiarize, like don't take their blurbs and create like, a template for yourself and then have all of your blurbs be more or less the same with just different character names fit in. But it kind of helps to see what other people have done so that you can get a good idea for your own.
Yeah. My brain just went blank.
I had such a roundabout way to explain that, and Ari goes, yeah.
You said it right though. You said it perfectly. Thing is, I've got a book that I'm going to use as an example and read through, but I'll let you if there's anything else you want to say.
Okay,
Sorry.
well, I'll throw in, here are some extra things that you can include in your book blurb. You can compare your book with another popular title. Personally, I do not like that. It's not a deal breaker. It's not like if I see somebody say, oh, if you like this series, then you'll like this book. It's not a deal breaker. If it still sounds intriguing, I'll buy it. But just me personally, I don't really like that as a marketing tool because um, it's a good way to bring in certain audience members, but it also excludes other audience members. Like, I cannot tell you how many times that I have seen books that say, oh, if you like what is it, A Court of Thorns and Roses, or
Yeah, A Court of
yeah.
Thorns and Roses. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've seen that in so many fantasy books and stuff, and I'm like, well, I've never read that, so I don't actually know. And I never really had much of an interest in reading that book. So if you're saying this is like that, then I'm not going to pick up your book. So it's kind of a, it's a risk. I mean, not everybody's going to like your book. Too bad, so sad.
If that person doesn't like, if they say they read like A Court of Thorns and Roses and didn't like it, that might put them off, and yet the book might be different enough. Like I actually like A Court of Thorns and Roses, but I did not like A Throne of Glass. I read book one and I thought, nope, not for me. And yet there are so many books I would have if I'd have seen that on there saying, oh, it's just like A Throne of Glass, I'd have been like, yeah, I'm not interested in that then. And yet, I read them and it was only later on in the marketing did I see that they mentioned it was similar, but the book itself was really good. So yeah, it can actually put people off, especially if someone has read that book that you're comparing to and they go, nope, I'm just going to not look at your book at all because of that.
Yes, and it also discourages people from joining a genre. I'm not a huge fantasy reader, so when I want to go pick out a fantasy book and give it a try, and I see they're like, oh, this is like this book, this is like that series, and this is like that, and I'm like, I don't know what any of those are. It's kind of hard to allow someone to get into a new genre and try something different. But again, that's just my opinion. It works. Like, so many books do that, and it works for them. But anyway, something else to note for your book blurb, please avoid spoilers. Especially if you're writing the blurb for like book two. Don't start your blurb with, the ending of book one. Um, I mean, I guess you can if that really tickles your fancy, but if there's so many people that see book two before they see book one, well, now you just kind of spoiled it for them, and that's just another huge pet peeve of mine. So just, keep it brief and just keep it to that particular book. Um, and finally, don't forget to edit your blurb. I feel like I don't need to say that, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Just when you write your blurb, make sure you edit it, and it's very similar to everything else in your novel. You want it to make sense, you want it to sound enticing. You obviously don't want any typos, so make sure you write it and you do it well.
And get people to check it. Because I mean, the blurb is literally, as Rachel said, no spoilers. It's meant to be a marketing tool to draw people in. So show it people. Show it to your writing friends. Say, does this draw you in? What part do you not like? Maybe it's confusing. Maybe there's something that's you're unsure about. Especially if they've been beta readers and they know the manuscript. They might be going, oh, yeah, you missed this really important key part out. Or, whoa, you shouldn't be telling them that because that's a really good surprise. Might not be a spoiler, but it's a surprise later on. You need to, and also, if you're struggling, and I say this because I am terrible at writing blurbs, terrible, get help. Reach out to people. The writing community mostly is really friendly and really helpful. And if you're struggling, you can write like a few different blurbs and then again send them out to your writer friends and say, which one do you think works best? And get them to poll it, get them to say, well, I like this, I don't like that. I mean, and then hopefully you'll have several people say they like the same one, and then it'll make it better. If they all come back spread over all of them, then it's not as helpful. But yeah, and I think some editors will actually assist you with a blurb. You might have to pay for it, little extra little service, but some editors are willing to help write the blurb because obviously they've read the manuscript and they can help with that. Don't feel like you have to struggle alone if it's not your thing. As I said, I am terrible at pitches, blurbs, synopses. I never know what to say. Even though I know the basics of it, it still just blows my mind how to write it. I'm just terrible. I get to the point where I don't want to give any spoilers, but then I give almost nothing. Not even spoiler, not even non-spoilers. I'm just like, I'm gonna give you like 2 lines and that's it. And then people are like, I have no idea what it's about. So with that, I thought for the end of this episode, I would use a book I read recently. I've read this book a lot of times. I really like this book because it has I think it's got a pretty decent blurb on the back. All right. So this is Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. Probably mispronouncing that, but we're just going to go ahead. So it starts saying, sent on a mission to retrieve an ancient hidden map, the key to a legendary treasure trove. Instant, that's exactly what the plot is. 17-year-old pirate Captain Aloza deliberately allows herself to be captured by her enemies, giving her the perfect opportunity to search their ship. So we've got a location. We're on a ship. She's in enemy territory. She's 17, but she's also a pirate captain. So how has she got captured? What, why, who's got this map? Who are these enemies that she's got to find the map for? More than a match for the ruthless pirate crew, Aloza has only one thing standing between her and the map: her captor, the unexpectedly clever and unfairly attractive first mate Raiden. The fact that it says attractive in there, there's going to be a romance. But not to worry, for Aloza has a few tricks up her sleeve, and no lone pirate can stop the Daughter of the Pirate King. Nice little tie-in to the title. And I think that's quite good because it gives you her age, it gives you her location. You already know a little bit about her, right? So she's the daughter of a pirate king. Why is there a pirate king? Who the heck is he? They're going on a map. What's this map for? Yes, it says treasure. There's always treasure, but also it obviously all ties in nicely with the pirate theme. And I always found that a really good, quick way because, like you said, you've got to introduce your characters. You've got to introduce some form of location. You've got to introduce like age because that can be a big thing. Like this is a YA. 17? Yeah, YA. So rather than saying this is a YA novel, this is a novel about pirates, this is a novel with treasure, it kind of ties in really nicely and you give off some of that information. And I think it gives that information really easily. And it's not a very, I think it's less than 150 words. So it just shows you can get quite a bit out of it without it being that big. So yeah, I think Rachel's right. Definitely pull out some of your favorite books and read their blurbs and see what they do. See how they explain some of the information without dumping it in one, this character is this age and they're in this place and they do this. You don't want that. You don't want it to be stilted because it is, in the end, it's a marketing tool. It's something that grabs people. The book cover can only get you so far.
That is a real solid example, and that is a book that my cousin let me borrow a while ago, and I just reminded me that I still have it and I still haven't read it because I know you're rolling your eyes at me, but it does sound like a really good book, and I should probably add that to the top of my TBR pile. But that's actually something that we kind of forgot to mention is location. That's probably something you should add in your blurb too. You got to set the scene. You have to introduce the characters. You should set the scene, set the tone, and like, the plot and what's at stake. I mean, those are really the main features of a novel, right? So you want to take them all and condense them and just put them in a couple of little paragraphs. It's not easy. It sucks, but it's got to be done because, as Ari said, the book cover can only get you so far. Your book's blurb is so, so important. It's the hook before the hook. And by that, I mean the hook is the first couple of pages, but really the blurb is like the front line. That's what gets people to open your book in the first place. And I mean, it's kind of hard to entice people to read a glorious story without being able to tell them what it's about. It's a difficult part of the writing process, but it's got to be done. And as Ari mentioned earlier, you can get help. You can get plenty of help from your beta readers, other writing friends, your editor. You're not alone. So don't stress over it. It will get done, but it does require some thinking and effort behind it.
The only thing I would also add is don't rush it. I think people spend all this time writing the novel. They work with artists to get a really good cover. They work on the formatting and all that and get an editor. And then it's the blurb is sometimes it's often a secondary thought like, oh yeah, I need to write a blurb. This is what it is. it's pretty important. So do take time to get it right. Don't just slap down the first thing you think of.
Yep, like I said, it's the front line of marketing your story. So don't skimp over it because that wouldn't be good. And you worked hard on your novel, so you want the blurb to be good. You want people to want to read it. I think we've said all that we can about book blurbs. So before we leave, if you want to learn more about us, the podcast, and opportunities to be a guest on the show, don't forget to check out our website at themerrywriterpodcast.podbean.com. Now we will turn it over to you guys. What tips do you have for blurb writing? Blurb is a funny word. Let us know your answers in the comments so we can chat. And remember, we release a new episode every Wednesday. Next week, we're talking about time budgeting. So to ensure you don't miss that, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on your way out if you're not already. As always, thank you for listening to the Merry Writer Podcast. We'll see you guys next week. This podcast is brought to you by Too Many Ideas, because writing is easier than editing. The music, titled Inspired, is